The 10th Annual World Economic Forum gets underway in earnest today, and this, of course, in Davos, Switzerland. In his opening remarks at the opening ceremony, Forum founder Klaus Schwab said he was proud of the strength of the community that has gathered for the 50th edition of the meeting. It'll see US President Donald Trump as the headline speaker. That's a year after he pulled out of the gathering. Let's cross over to our reporter in Davos, Liabo Setho. Liabo, good morning to you. Let's get a little bit of a preview from you. Were you at the opening ceremony yesterday, and how was it? The sense and the tone that was given there.
Good morning, Leanne. It's very cold here. That is how it is here in Davos, but I'm sure our viewers have been watching since yesterday. We arrived here on Sunday, and of course, the official opening getting underway only today. And no, Leanne, I was not at the official opening. It is madness out there at the Congress Center. I was trying to get, all the news. That we had at least 3 reports yesterday that were released, so we were chasing those. But yes, Team South Africa is expected to touch down by today. This is being led, the team is being led by the Finance Minister, Tito Mboweni. Of course, most of them would be leaving from the Africa Summit that was taking place in London in the UK. And of course, Team South Africa selling South Africa once again as an investment destination. Of course, all the troubles that the economy finds itself in, these are going to have to be communicated to the investment community here at Davos to say that South Africa is open for business. But of course, yesterday we saw that a report from the International Monetary Fund that has flagged things such as our electricity issues, Leanne, as some of the challenges that making sure that the IMF itself has reduced our growth outlook from 1% to 0.8%. Also talking about slow reforms that we currently find ourselves not speeding up to their liking, but them particularly flagging a lot the issue of electricity challenges. Of course, this is not new because Tito Mboweni himself is expecting that the community would be asking, the investors would be asking him about this and how he would want investment to come into South Africa. When, of course, there isn't electricity, we know how important that is. So these are the kind of questions that Team South Africa is likely to face. Later on, we also will be speaking to the Reserve Bank Governor, Mr. Lesitsha Kganyago. We'll be finding out, about monetary policy in South Africa and where it is heading. Yesterday, the IMF also, making a comment there that it is noticing monetary easing across all economies in the in the world. So we will be speaking to Mr. Kganyago later this evening to find out about where South Africa's monetary policy is heading. We know that last week, we saw the Reserve Bank reduce interest rates by 0.25 percentage points, and that obviously is a welcomed relief, for the economy and consumers alike. Of course, government people are not the only people that are here, and we have business leaders who are also here. Business Unity South Africa, Mr. Sipho Pitjana is here. We have people from ABSA, your MTN, and Old Mutual as well. So we have a full delegation, maybe not as much as we've seen in previous years, because obviously austerity measures, we have to tighten the belt as South Africa. In fact, Mr. Mboweni himself opting to come by himself and not have anyone accompany him. So that gives you the sense of perhaps where his head is at when it comes to these kind of trips and spending money on them. But of course, we as the SABC team, we will be bringing you everything that is happening here at Davos throughout the day and throughout the week until Friday when it officially closes.
Liabo, just one last question. Many people saying that this is going to be quite a tough sell for Team South Africa to go in, firstly missing the president there, a part of the delegation, obviously the finance minister holding much weight. So I suppose that kind of levels it out. But it's still a very difficult time for South Africa, seeing where our growth levels are at, seeing the electricity crisis, things that you have mentioned. So this year is going to be particularly difficult, one would imagine, to find investment and to find a space for South Africa in and amongst all of these other delegations.
You're absolutely right, Leanne, because, the South African economy has not been growing for a while. We are Africa's most industrialized economy, and we are quite a big economy when you, in relation to the entire continent, followed, of course, we are in the likes of your Nigeria and your Egypt. So when you find an economy such as South Africa that is also represented at things like the G20, not growing at 1%, it's a cause for concern. You would imagine if you were an investor and you wanted to come and set up shop in South Africa, you would wonder, where is the electricity? How far, where will my money go? You don't want your money to go down the drain. Similarly, as South Africans, we do need this investment because we have an unemployment rate of 29%? That is high, very high. We need to reduce the inequality gap. Most importantly, we need to get people working, and when people start working, we need, that's obviously when the economy will grow. Most economists, Leanne, saying that the economy needs to grow by between 5 and 8% for us to see, things changing meaningfully. So just imagine if the IMF says in 2020 we see the economy growing by less than 1%, that's 0.8%. That spells trouble, and of course, this is a very hard sell for Team South Africa, that they have to woo investors here and, against all the challenges that we currently find ourselves in, still say, please do come and invest in South Africa. We are open for business.
For business indeed. And then, of course, as we wrap up with you, and very quickly, US President Donald Trump is expected to address the delegates today. He's the keynote speaker, the guest speaker, and he wasn't even there last year. Of course, his impeachment trial starting today as well. And there's that kind of stare-off, remember, happening between that young Greta Thunberg and Donald Trump, and she's expected to be there as well. So climate change, the economy, Donald Trump, this is certainly going to be an interesting economic forum for you this time, Liabo.
It's going to be very interesting, and you will not believe the amount of security around Donald Trump. In fact, we received an email last night where we had to sign up to be at the hall where he'll be speaking, but unfortunately cameras are not allowed there, and we are told to be there at least 2 hours before to line up. So this gives you, the sense of just how much they know that media will be rushing to get to see and hear what President Trump is saying. We also want to know, where the US's head is with trade tensions, the issues of Iran. But what I do know is that my colleague Sherwin Bryce Pease is also on that story and has a pulse on it. So yes, it's a very interesting Davos of 2020, Leanne.
Really is. Liabo, thanks so much for being there for us, and enjoy that snow. It looks beautiful. If I was you, I'd jump into it and do one of those snow angels. But that's just me sitting here in the studio. It's a different story if you're standing next to the snow, I can imagine. Would you do